Unemployment and national debts are soaring. Businesses and borders are closed. The coronavirus pandemic is far from over. Europe, like much of the rest of the world, is on the brink of a deep recession, possibly the worst since the Great Depression some 90 years ago. Today on Euronews, we're taking an in-depth look at the continent's economic future. How will industries restart? How many businesses will survive? And what about workers, residents and vulnerable people? We'll be looking at how different aspects of our lives will be affected and what the leaders are doing to try to steer the economy away from the rocks. Our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, kicks off our coverage from Brussels.
As the shutters slowly rise on Europe's economies and the immediate health emergency eases, focuses turn to the continent's recovery. And the picture is bleak. Forecasts for this year suggest the EU's powerhouse Germany will slump by 6.5%. France by 8.2%, badly hit Spain 9.4% and Italy 9.5%. Though those in the east, like Poland, have fared a bit better, down 4.3%. Overall, the EU is expected to be down a massive 7.4% this year.
In the face of this unprecedented recession, the EU has really struggled to come up with a long-term recovery plan to deal with the scale and the scope of this crisis. That's because there are divisions between the north and the south, and also between those that are fiscally conservative and those member states that remain heavily indebted.
Nobody's to blame for this crisis. No country is to blame for this crisis. This is something that we could not control and that has affected so many member states in such a significant manner. So at this moment we need a coordinated and a solidary response. So we could take away these divisions and we should start delivering on the responses to the crisis.
We'll step forward Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, who've come up with their compromise plan. A €500 billion EU recovery fund, raised by the European Commission, borrowing on capital markets. Essentially, shared debt. A big move, but one that is too much for some, notably countries like the Netherlands and Austria, who've come up with their own plan, with demands for continuing reform.
They have their point of view. They've always been very clear about that point of view. There are other countries who are very vehemently against these arguments of the Nordics, if I may put it that way. But it's a question of trying to find a compromise between those two positions, and it does not help to keep on shouting at each other that you're right and I'm wrong and vice versa. So the compromise time has come now.
Ultimately, it will be up to Charles Michel, the EU Council President, to bang heads together. But at the moment, the German Franco plan seems like the best bets.
I think something like this needs to go over the line, whether it'll be this or some other version of guarantees or something that looks more like some of the borrowing facilities we saw in the previous financial crisis. A lot of technical solutions are possible. What's missing is the political will. And once that comes together, the technical solutions will fall into place.
Brussels was accused of being too slow to react when this crisis hit. It can't afford not to lead the recovery. A recovery Europe desperately needs. A recovery it can't wait around for. Darren McCaffrey, Euronews.